Kardashians are lying to you. Culture used to be the backbone of the resistance. All it seeks to do is sedate the masses. Culture now seeks to appeal to our primal urges, our base need. We're now in the age of mediocrity. You can bring about the positive change you want to see in this world, because the revolution will not be televised. Only you can bring about the revolution by taking it to the streets. Keep resisting.
The Che Guevara t-shirt was a brief fashion fad during the mid-2000s. The shirt displayed a reproduced high-contrast print by Irish artist Jim Fitzpatrick. This image was originally a photo by Cuban photographer Alberto Corda, called Heroic Guerrilla Fighter when translated into English. Trust me, this is still a video about Hasan Piker, the Gucci guerrilla fighter.
Just stop.
I'm almost certain everyone watching this video has seen this image of Che Guevara in some way, shape, or form. You have also probably seen parodies of the photos such as Viva la Evolucion and my personal favorite, Che FC. It is one of the most widely reproduced photos of the 20th century, to the point when the photo is far more famous than the story of the man himself. To give you all a flash bio, Che Guevara was an Argentine doctor from a wealthy family who ditched his affluent life to become a communist revolutionary. He teamed up with Fidel and Raul Castro to overthrow the US-backed Batista regime in Cuba and implement a communist government just off the coast of that other third world country, Florida. His role in the creation of a communist state in Cuba would make him a hero and an icon in the eyes of the international left during the 1960s. However, his following rebellions in Congo and Bolivia would fail. Despite claiming to be a warrior for the working class in the global south, who were in his eyes oppressed by the evils of capitalism and imperialism, most Bolivian indigenous farmers disliked Che and his Marxist guerrillas for killing so many police officers and soldiers. The Bolivian military was tipped off by local peasantry who were able to hunt Che down and kill him. Regardless of whether you love Che or hate him, even his corpse looked pretty badass. Granted, there aren't too many shirts with this picture plastered onto it. To some, Che was a hero fighting against imperialism, capitalist greed, and oppression, while to others, he is hated as a mass-murdering authoritarian. His image would become immortalized decades after his death, as he became an icon of rebellion, counterculture, and activists fighting for a righteous cause. To others, it has become a celebration of a guy who was a homophobic butcher and a failed administrator who led Cuba into looking like asmongold's house.
Oh! He's on my belly. Look at him. He's right there. Oh, God. Get him out of me. What are you doing, bro? Get out of my... Go in the garbage.
In 1989, the Berlin Wall would fall, and in 1991, the USSR would collapse. The same year, the star of this video, Hasan Piker, was born. As I've stated before, Che Guevara's image would become popular on merchandise during the late 90s to the late 2000s. Che was found on everything from t-shirts, mugs, stickers, bikinis, and other stupid consumerist shit. Here are the ghosts of Che Guevara fighting against colonialism on this woman's ass. During the 2000s, teenagers would pin Che Guevara posters on their bedroom walls without even knowing who the f*** he was. Yeah, you know, Che, he was like the lead guitarist of some band during the 70s I forgot the name of. There is even a website called the Che Store, which promotes the image of Che through the power of capitalism and mass consumerism. Che Guevara would probably round up the guy who runs the Che Store and kill him in a firing squad. Then he would round up the dumbass teenagers who wore the shirts and force them to pick at limestone in a quarry.
I'm here to talk to you today about music, art, fashion.
Yeah, and speaking of art, music, and fashion, Che Guevara also threw people into forced labor camps for listening to modern popular music. As a result of these controversies, many Che haters loved the commodification of Che's image. as they saw it as a form of, well, hilarious ironic proof that his legacy is one of failure. That his greatest claim to fame is not a global communist revolution, but rather selling tacky knickknacks to university students who see themselves as guerrilla fighters, but in reality would get into a panic attack if their DoorDash order came 15 minutes late. Now keep in mind that I'm a total hypocrite because when I visited Argentina, Che Guevara's country of origin, I purchased a Che Guevara magnet from the gift shop. Che's legacy will forever be attached to one of my kitchen appliances. Now, the star of this video, Hasan Piker, the modern-day Che Guevara, at least in his own eyes, also has iconic t-shirts. This is one you can buy on Etsy of him shocking his dog. I want to personally get it to fight against capitalism. Now, you might be thinking, why did I just sit through a pissant under 5k subscriber YouTube channel talk about a guy from 20th century South America on a video that is supposed to be about Twitch streamer Hasan Piker? Well, hypothetical person, that's because Hasan Piker thinks that he's Che Guevara, when in reality, he is the Che Guevara t-shirt.
The biggest scourge that affects our society, against all of the cultural and social progress we've seen, is the battle against intellectual thought.
On July 25th, 1991, in New Brunswick, New Jersey, a parasite was born. Hasan Piker came from humble origins to a working-class family. His father was a carpenter, and his mother was a substitute teacher. No, just kidding. Hasan Piker was born into immense privilege, being born into a filthy rich family. Baby Hasan probably soiled themselves in the finest of silks. Hasan's father, Mehmet Piker, was an economist and former vice president of a multi-billion-dollar conglomerate, and was a prominent backer of right-wing politics in Turkey. You know, the sort of person who Hasan Piker today would advocate being sent to the gallows. His mother is a professor in architectural history, which probably helped when Hasan later bought his $3.5 million Marxist mansion. Speaking of buying property, his mother is also a mega landlady, managing multiple real estate properties. And we know how Hasan Piker thinks about landlords.
Well, my understanding is that the property owners who have properties there choose just not to rent it at all.
Yeah, kill them. Kill those motherfuckers and murder those motherfuckers in the street. Let the streets soak in their fucking red capitalist bloods, dude.
Now keep in mind that Hasan Piker is a male feminist.
I always knew Hannah Montana was a little slut.
Well, Hasan, we don't want to be sexist and discriminate against landladies just because they're women, right? Right? Keep in mind that Hasan's maternal grandfather was also a landlord, managing around 30 houses.
Which was a private school, okay? In that list, there was a clause, it says, if this building is sold, the new owner can renegotiate the lease. That is something unusual, that's beautiful. Mm-hmm. Is it true? I took to one of the lawyers, said, yeah, that's right. Mm-hmm. So I wrote a letter to the people. They were occupying almost 25-30% of the building, and they were paying something like $3,400 a month. It's impossible. Mm-hmm. I wrote them a letter and said, that's it. Either you get out of the building, which is a big risk, because if they get out, I'm in trouble. I'm finished. Yeah, or I'm increasing your monthly rent to that time around 6,800 or something like that, maybe almost twice as much.
And not just any landlord, but a landlord whose primary business strategy was to exorbitantly increase the rent by nearly double the amount the original rent was on strip mall properties used by family businesses.
Yeah, kill them. Kill those motherfuckers and motherfuckers in the street. Let the streets soak in their red capitalist bloods, dude.
Hasan is what you call an anchor baby, as he was born into the country to acquire US citizenship before returning back to Turkey, where he lived up until he turned 18. He claimed that coming from a rich family in Turkey is similar to a middle-class background in North America. However, here is a picture of a young, rotund revolutionary riding into battle, or more accurately, riding into polo lessons on his pet horse. See, Hasan's family was so poor growing up that they couldn't afford to get him a Rolls-Royce for their teenage son. So the young Hasan had to use a horse for transportation. While reluctantly admitting that he comes from immense pedigree, born with a silver spoon up his ass, Hasan has repeatedly tried to downplay his privilege by speaking of quote-unquote financial shifts in his family's finances, which I assume is perhaps referring to a bad investment his daddy made, which led him to replace the golden diamond-encrusted toilets in their third mansion with silver opal-encrusted toilets. Growing up, he expressed skepticism of the Islamic faith, which he has kept to this day. Well, that is when he isn't simping for Islamic fundamentalists and their war crimes.
Okay, this is a stupid question. Okay, you can preface it with that. Does he know what One Piece is?
One Piece, like, is that an organization?
No, One Piece is an anime.
Oh, okay. أول شيء بقول لك إنه ممكن هذا السؤال يكون شوي أهبل، بس بسألك تعرف شو هو One Piece؟ عمرك سمعت ب One Piece؟
أكيد يعني منذ الطفولة وأنا أشاهد ون بيس لوفي.
Luffy?
Yeah, he said he's been watching it since he was a kid.
No way!
Yeah.
That's sick. Yes, that's fire. That's so fire. Oh my god, dude. We think the Houthis Ansar Allah is doing what Luffy would do. You should tell him that.
بقول لك حسن إنه
Believing that Muhammad is a prophet isn't really based, but kidnapping sailors and the Red Sea in his name is clearly based, at least according to Hasan. After completing high school, he moved back to the United States for university, majoring in political science and communications. Despite being some of the easiest subjects to major in, he frequently bragged about how his degree has made him an authority on politics.
I'm one of the very few people on the internet that quite literally does have the proper accreditation for it. I literally went to college for this and got a degree for this specifically, not realizing one day that I would actually use it, but this is my double major, okay? I double major graduated with poli-sci and comms degrees, so I went to college!
Excess focus on credentialism is usually a sign of insecurity. People who are very well read and experienced in a subject don't need to remind you of their diploma.
I went to college!
Now, the typical career path for someone with an undergrad in political science and communications usually involves sending their job application to KFC. People can listen to you talk about Marx and Engels as you dunk chicken tendies into the pressure cooker. And had it not been for nepotism and looks, Hasan's skill set and quote-unquote talents, or lack thereof, would have probably landed him a meaningful career, meaningful employment, working for Colonel Sanders. To be fair, he would have provided far more value to society through the route of serving people deep-fried bird chunks. But alas, Hasan was given a job by his uncle Cenk Uygur of the Young Turks, a company named after... okay, let's just not go there. While nepotistic, this was a great token of goodwill on the part of Uncle Cenk. Whether or not you like Cenk, he did build his own media empire, and, in a way, set up the foundations for Hasan's media empire. This may have been due to familial love, or perhaps Hasan bribed his uncle by allowing Cenk to get some action in his pet horse's stable.
If I were the benevolent dictator of the world, I would legalize bestiality where you are pleasuring a horse, and the horse came to a conclusion, right? So who got harmed?
Because once you go horse, you can't go back. He's like, oh, giddy up. That's a donkey. That's close.
You cross the border, you go over there, you find their horse. It's a beautiful horse.
Hasan's primary contribution to the Young Turks, aka the home of progressives, was to be a regressive frat boy. His frat boy-like nature could be seen in his sideshow Bro Tips, in which Hasan Piker made attempts at comedy, emphasis on the word attempts.
We ask you, the audience, would you rather never eat cheese for the rest of your life but get blowjob, or never get blowjobs for the rest of your life but continue on eating cheese?
This was followed by other crimes against comedy.
Opinions that I really truly care about in the section below, and if you don't, I'm gonna come to your house and I'm gonna have sex with your dog.
I've watched documentaries about the Armenian genocide which are funnier than this shit. Hasan, do you really want to be talking about dogs given your track record? It would be during his bro tip days in which Hasan would come out as a staunch supporter of trans rights. This was when he started his jihad against transphobia.
Gaga as the top contender for Babe of the Week should be the fact that she might have a penis. The fact that Lady Gaga might have a small penis does absolutely terrify me.
Hasan also shared some, let's just say, unorthodox views on the age of consent.
Back again next week when we discuss the legendary question of all time, old enough to count, old enough to mount, question mark?
Now, we don't want to be Islamophobic here. Many of the Islamic fundamentalist forces Hasan Piker supports do marry girls once they can solve 2 + 2 = 4. Hasan would move on to Twitch after quitting TYT. At the time, Twitch was a recently founded platform for live streaming gaming. This was right around the time when the online political atmosphere was shifting away from the anti-SJWs and conservative content towards more left-wing content. At the time, he was supported by a left-of-center streamer by the name of Destiny. Their relationship is akin to one between two 13-year-olds who fell in love and then broke up and now hate each other.
If Destiny was my roommate, I get him late all the time. Was DMing me on Discord and saying, hey, you know what? If you don't have a place to live, buddy, like, you can come stay with me. It's okay. What a good guy. Destiny is a great guy.
Thought, like, this is a concept that I think is cool, gaming. This is a concept that I think you can marry with gaming, political commentary. I paved it on my own. Paved it on my own.
I paved it on my own.
What a fucking liar, dude. What a fucking Weasley little liar, dude. What a...
As you can tell, Hasan Piker's immense privilege meant that he never had to go through the absolute torment of small channel hell that most independent content creators have to go through. You know who's currently going through this small channel hell? Me. So help a brother out and subscribe. The wizard demands it. Sort of. Hasan's streams were not particularly well produced. The man has the charisma of a cockroach and the abstract thinking capacity of a pumice stone you scrub your feet with to remove the foot corns. His unique abilities include, but are not limited to, eating on stream, reading tweets, and molding at his chatters.
I stand any of you dumb fucks in this chat. Oh my god, I hate the left. I hate liberalism. I hate everything that's going on every single day of the week. I hate my life. I hate streaming. I hate socialism. I hate every single person who thinks that the peak of activism is just being the most annoying, holier than thou, the most ultimately woke leftist is just...
But this still worked given the name recognition he got from his previous Nepo job and striking when the iron of LeftTube was hot. Oh yeah, and another factor is obviously his looks. I started this video off talking about Che Guevara as a framing device. Che's image became so iconic because of how good looking he was. Raul Castro was just as historically important but never became a symbol or an icon because he looks like Mr. Burns from The Simpsons. Mike from PA is another far-left streamer, yet he never gained the significant traction that Hasan did because he looks like Ron Jeremy with ED. Hasan became Twitch's golden boy under the CEO and gooner Dan Clancy. Funny enough, Twitch was bought by Amazon.com in 2014, making multi-millionaire Hasan, slayer of billionaires Piker, a humble employee of billionaire Jeff Bezos. Now I know what a lot of you are going to say. Hasan is living and quote-unquote working, I'm using that last term loosely, in a system of evil capitalist exploitation. This, well, let's just say argument, is usually summarized with this meme of a medieval peasant who says that we should, quote, improve society somewhat. And for some reason, we see some sort of Redditor popping out of the well saying, yet you participate in society. Me very smart. All I can say to this meme is, you got me. All the points that I made in this video have been debunked. I guess it's time to end the video. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe to my tiny pissant channel. I'm the Wizard of Wit. I've been outwitted by this crudely drawn webcomic. This video really just sucks, and you should downvote it and then move on to Hasan's Twitch stream. Okay, so it wasn't the end of the video. As you all know, I got totally wrecked by this meme. Hasan wearing Dolce & Gabbana is just like a serf living in the Middle Ages. Think about it. Hasan spent thousands of dollars on a suit just so he could feel the pain of the poor by looking like a potato sack. This meme has been used to explain away the fact that so many so-called radicals like our friend Mr. Piker are hyper-consumerists. Forget about the luxury products for a second. Hasan Piker has a giant bookshelf behind him without any books. Most of these items on his bookshelf are stupid hyper-consumerist shit. I'd give him a pass for this until I found out that one of the items is a giant labubu. I get nauseous just saying the word labubu. While I'm not a fan of 20th century communists throwing people with excess consumerist possessions into gulags, I will make an exception for anybody who has bought a f***ing labubu. He even has coveted a labubu which promotes anti-Taiwanese pro-CCP propaganda.
Taiwan its own country, or does it belong to China?
Taiwan is an inalienable part of China's territory.
That's so sick. That is unironically the coolest fucking toy.
Speaking of propaganda, Hasan Piker has used his position as the Sultan of Twitch to preach a worldview that I would describe as dorm room dogma. I call it dorm room dogma because it refers to the beliefs that are common among privileged university students. 19-year-olds who have never had to work a day in their life, yet know how the world works because they learned the definition of colonialism like 2 weeks ago. Dorm room dogma is not a belief that all or even most students at prestigious universities have, but it is the most common among this demographic cohort as opposed to, well, just about everybody else. The purpose of this video is not meant to be an in-depth refutation of each of Hasan's overarching dorm room dogma beliefs. Perhaps I'll dive into that dumpster fire, I'll dive into the slop bucket in the future if there is enough demand, which given the track record of my channel, there probably isn't. However, I do think it's worth giving an honest quick rundown of Hasan's worldview for context, and why this worldview resonates with a certain type of teenager who sees injustice in every corner ever since they were 10 years old and mommy took away the PlayStation controller. Dorm room dogma can be broken down into a handful of overarching beliefs revolving around a binary of evil oppressor people versus pure oppressed people. This worldview in and of itself can be broken down into three main parts. The first one is a set of economic ideas revolving around communism and Marxism. This pits good wholesome working class people against evil, icky, rich people. For some reason, Hasan is in the poor people's camp despite his love of Rolex watches. To be fair, even Che Guevara loved Rolex watches, claiming that he needed the possession of this high-end watch to fight against capitalist pigs. I'm sure the same is true for Hasan's Gucci clothes. Number 2 are social beliefs through the lens of intersectional feminism, which views the world through a set of overarching conflicts between racial and gender-based groups.
Well, I'm gonna be honest, I am a tall, white, heterosexual male, which puts me in a no marginalized category, and I feel like the only time I've ever been passionate about anything and gotten commentary on it would be like my love for cheese, I guess.
Now you might be asking how Hasan reconciles his belief in intersectional feminism with his Islamic upbringing, which has a long track record of sexism, homophobia, and to a lesser extent racism. And the answer to all of this is that he cannot. The third and last leg of Hasan's worldview is anti-Western campism, which posits that the world can be divided into an evil set of Western countries filled with oppression on one side and a good, wholesome set of poor, colonized, tan-skinned people countries on the other side. In this scenario, countries like the US, European nations, Canada, Australia, and their allies like South Korea, Israel, and the Gulf states are evil oppressor exploiter countries, while enemies of the West like Russia, China, Iran, and North Korea, along with terrorist groups they support like the Houthis, are beacons of peace and human rights. North Korea has the death penalty for people who listen to K-pop, so I guess they're doing something right. This Twitter account by another anti-Western campist, sorry I meant to say anti-imperialist, has a map of the most evil countries in red. As you can tell, the most evil nations on the planet are the ones where the tap water won't give you diarrhea. Despite hating the West, Hasan and other promoters of campus dorm room dogma still prefer to live in the West than any of the despotic regimes they simp for. Hasan should visit Iran and wear his anti-sexism, anti-homophobia shirt there. I'm sure the mullahs will love it, as they strangle some teenage girls to death for showing a few strands of hair. The final, overarching, unified belief of Hasan's dorm room dogma is authoritarianism. Hasan clearly does not believe in liberal democracy, even though he lives in one. Keep in mind, each one of these overarching sets of beliefs deserves a video in and of themselves. I'm still not sure if I'm callous enough to subject my audience to that sort of pain. Tell me in the comment section if you want to see a series like this. Delving into the subject will hurt you more than it hurts Hasan, but it will definitely hurt me the most. But I'm willing to take the pain. I'm a stoic. By peddling dorm room dogma, Hasan would get money donated to him via Twitch from other rich kids using daddy's credit card. With their parents' hard-earned cash, Hasan can use these funds to fight against capitalism by buying a $3.5 million Marxist mansion. He claimed that he needed the West Hollywood mansion for his family. The family of centimillionaires who are just like the characters from Grapes of Wrath escaping the Dust Bowl during the Great Depression. Now, I mentioned the horse in the past, but the pet horse was really just while Hasan Piker was struggling to make ends meet. He couldn't afford a car back then, so he just needed a pet horse instead. But now Hasan Piker, through the power of his audience, has been able to purchase a humble car, a Honda Civic. No, just kidding. He bought a $250,000 Porsche. I'm assuming that he bought this Porsche to replace his now deceased noble steed. Now, I know that there are a lot of you who are criticizing Hasan for being a hypocrite, but to be honest, you guys don't know what you're talking about. Hasan could have purchased a $1 million Bugatti like Andrew Tate, but he bought a $250,000 Porsche instead, because he's a man of the people, the voice of the working class.
So my goal is to instill class consciousness in people and help them identify what would be more, help them identify who is actually causing harm to them. And in my assessment, it's the billionaires and the corporations.
Hasan is also the owner of Maoist merchandise.
Chat.
Oh, no way!
It's a small one.
And it's the first version.
It's the first. Wait.
Really?
Is that a Bible?
No, that's a little red book.
It is basically.
The Little Red Book?
The Little Red Book. It's the Red Bible is what it is.
Okay.
For those of you who are historically illiterate, Mao was the founder of the People's Republic of China and the Chinese Communist Party. Mao's greatest contribution to humanity is having 15 to 45 million people work to death and starve in forced labor camps. But don't worry, those working class people perished so that modern China could produce labubus, which Hasan Piker could buy at an upcharge. Speaking of China, Hasan is also the proud owner of Kaya, a Tibetan Mastiff, one of the most expensive dog breeds in the world. And we know what Hasan Piker thinks about the liberation of Tibetans.
Tibet was literally a fucking feudal slave mandate, like
So
autonomous zone.
China did them a favor.
That was one. I mean, in America, when I say something like this, people get very upset. You know, we talk about the Dalai Lama saying "suck my tongue" or whatever, but like that's not far from the norm in fucking normal Tibetan existence before the Communist Party came in.
America, Kaya, please just fucking go. Just stop.
This leads us to the most pivotal legacy of Hasan. Even if Hasan manages to destroy capitalist America and Western civilization and turn it into a CCP colony filled with teenage fangirls working in sweatshops making labubus for the daughters of rich Chinese billionaires, Hasan shocking his dog will forever be the most iconic and iconic moment of his life. Hasan has taken a private jet to music festivals like Coachella, which costs a minimum of $500. I'd pay $500 to watch Iggy Pop shake his grandpa titties for the last time before he dies, but you'd need to pay me $500 to see Hasan. He also continues to spend insane amounts of money on designer clothes, while at the same time not having any fashion sense. Who cares about the hypocrisy of a communist wearing thousands of dollars in luxury brand products? You need to pay me $8,000 to dress up like this in public. Something tells me that Hasan is just some sort of thespian satirist, mocking all the Marxists who look up to him and see him as some sort of revolutionary, when in reality it's just a performance act to make a parody out of his own fan base. This photo of him reading a book by the leader of the Russian Communist Revolution, Vladimir Lenin, while wearing a $4,300 Cartier ring looks like something a pissant humorist YouTuber like myself would have made up to make fun of Hasan Piker. Yet here Hasan is, reading a book by a guy who murdered people for owning private property while wearing a $4,350 ring made from white gold. To be fair, I'm gonna buy a box of nails for $3 from Home Depot or Canadian Tire and twist it into a ring. Then I'm gonna pretend that my pathetically small YouTube channel is making as much money as Hasan's is. Hasan is an example of the concept known as the radical chic. Radical chic refers to how wealthy people oftentimes associate with the iconography of extremist belief systems which they don't necessarily believe in, let alone practice, for the sake of looking like some intellectual badass. The term initially referred to the composer Leonard Bernstein, who met with members of the Black Panthers back during the 1970s. Radical chic has been used to refer to the aforementioned Che Guevara t-shirt, as well as Ivy League university students wearing the Palestinian scarf known as the keffiyeh. When Hasan isn't dressing up in Versace cameo to fight a guerrilla war against Jeff Bezos, his boss, he wears a war correspondent's press vest in the battle zone known as Los Angeles, which, contrary to what Rage Against the Machine will tell you, is not a battle site, unless you count the crackheads and hookers fighting each other. Hasan wore a war reporter's vest during a protest that took place in a business plaza. Keep in mind that Hasan has mocked Dylan Burns, who is a reporter on the front lines in Ukraine.
know what to say. It basically betrays the position that you have. Like, oh, I genuinely care about this. That's why I went out there, not because I'm like a fucking war tourist pervert.
Oz Katirji, a war correspondent currently stationed in Ukraine who actually wears a press vest for his own literal safety, has also mocked Hasan for his LARPing. Hasan wearing a war correspondent's bulletproof vest is kind of like a 6-year-old dressing up like a soldier, pretending to be a badass, which is cute if you're 6 years old, and not so cute when you're 35 years old. Hasan Piker is to secular left-wing Zoomers what prosperity gospel preachers are to Christian right-wing boomers. Extremely wealthy con artists who bastardize a flawed yet mostly well-intended belief system for their own clout and profit.
I am the resurrection.
Dollar owns this multi-million-dollar mansion and condo. In March, his website asked the faithful to help him buy something else.
To give contributions of $300 or more.
A $65 million Gulfstream G650 jet, the top of the line in luxury air travel.
Hasan and his fans can cope over his use of luxury goods all he wants. And to be fair, if he wasn't a communist guerrilla LARPer, I wouldn't care. It's his money, he can spend it as he wishes. If he wants to spend the money given to him by his own daddy and the daddies of rich teenagers on stupid fancy shit, then go ahead. Enjoy the Prada of the proletariat. Just don't pretend that you're gonna overthrow Western civilization and liberal democracy and capitalism and then implement the failed 20th century ideology by sending your money to a guy who won't even provide financial aid to his comrades who are currently being sued.
Noah thought he was going to raise $500,000. The top donation reward was that he would ride his bike to Hasan's house. But what we learned in this is that he hasn't even responded.
I was waiting for him to text me back, so I didn't know if he was going to be okay with me showing up to his house. But
bro, you can't make that a subscriber goal if you're not even talk to the man.
You and Hasan, do you guys talk much?
He's not really much of a communicator in that way.
You used to be friends with Hasan. Was he much of a texter?
He always answered me immediately.
It's weird that he doesn't communicate back to iDubbbz.
Author Rob K. Henderson has coined the term luxury beliefs. Luxury beliefs refer to viewpoints which are held by the privileged upper class, which can oftentimes be harmful to underprivileged lower classes, but are still held by the upper class in order to exude status and prestige among those in the, well, upper class.
The upper classes still feel this pressure to sort of signify their upper class status, to display and broadcast it in some way. And there's even research indicating that upper class people are more interested in social status, interested in obtaining it, and more interested in preserving it than the lower classes. They're more interested in sort of obtaining wealth and sort of social prestige as well. And so how do they do this? I argue that they do it with sort of unusual opinions, unconventional ideas, things that would often be sort of catastrophic for people who are lower on the social ladder. But because if you're sort of well-educated and affluent and of means, and you have sort of social access and all these things, you can afford to, of course, broadcast those abilities in the right way. You know, it's not enough to sort of have those luxury beliefs, but you have to express them in the right way.
Luxury beliefs are like Hasan's Gucci bag, but for opinions. His radical beliefs are not so much those of the working class or global south that he claims to speak on behalf of, but rather to pander to the privileged, all the while pretending to care about those who are disadvantaged, while at the same time advocating for failed economic policies, tin pot dictatorships, and systems of oppression which make an Amazon warehouse look like Disneyland. Hasan Piker hates the West while living in the West. He hates capitalism while living a hyper-capitalist lifestyle. And he claims to be the voice of the working class, even though he's never done any real work in his life. I started this video out talking about Che Guevara and the Cuban Revolution. Well, it turns out that Hasan went on a propaganda trip, sorry I meant humanitarian trip, to Cuba a few months ago. Hasan wore Cartier glasses worth $1,300, which he claims were bought from a thrift store. I believe him. I just purchased this $8 million platinum pipe from my nearby Goodwill.
They're in Cuba, like you say, these assholes in their $1,300 designer glasses going down to support the people. They're staying like in the one hotel that's a luxury hotel that while the people have no electricity, everything they're doing is air conditioned, the bus. They cosplay, sort of going into a field with the farmers, I think, for a minute. And you know what they visited while they were in Cuba, like sightseeing on their whirlwind tour? They went to the North Korean embassy, and one of them tweeted out, "Our solidarity with North Korea."
Now, the situation in Cuba today is very complex. Watch my old video about the geopolitics of Cuba to learn more. Become one of the proud 24 people to watch this obscure old video. In my video, I cover how many of the problems in Cuba are a complex array of internal and external factors. Complex factors which Hasan would never mention because his profound geopolitical philosophy, if one could call it that, could be summarized as America equal poo poo caca pee pee, anti-America equal fun nice ice cream kittens unicorn. Say what you want about Che, but at least Che Guevara died for what he believed in. Hasan wouldn't sacrifice a Lacoste shirt for the working class. If Che Guevara were still alive, he would force Hasan to work in a sugarcane field for nickels before shooting him in the head. Speaking of Cuba, Hasan Piker is not the only Hasan Piker, if you get what I'm saying. The late Fidel Castro's grandson, Sandro Castro, is a popular TikToker who has made a name for himself flaunting luxury goods from his family's communist coffer, while most Cubans can't turn on the lights, even before the US Venezuelan energy embargo was put into place by the Trump administration. Don't worry though, the Cuban oligarchy still had enough electricity to provide Hasan and his gang of caviar communists with power in their 5-star hotel as they partied while the rest of the country was in the dark. Now, as many of you know, Hasan Piker has recently been the target of an FBI investigation for violating US sanction laws. Regardless of what you think of US sanctions on Cuba, and I'm personally against the embargo, I still find it, well, quite amusing that Hasan and his allies in the pro-Chinese Communist Party Pink Code activist group were most likely funded by a near-billionaire and anti-Western Marxist capitalist by the name of Neville Roy Singham.
I think that ultimately the target is probably Singham and his operation from PSL to Answer Coalition to Co-Pink, like anything that he has ever financed.
Apparently, billionaires are good guys so long as they spend their money supporting dictatorships rather than selling you protein powder. Now, I'm gonna keep my wishful thinking bias in check and bet that Hasan will not receive any prison sentence. But if he does, he should be happy. Prison, if you think about it, is a communist paradise. Free housing, free food, a tightly knit community, and no real currency other than cigarettes and handjobs. The only aspect of Hasan's socialism which is missing are the Chanel necklaces.
Battle against intellectualism is a war against rational behavior.
The greatest sign of communism's defeat was not the fall of the Berlin Wall or the collapse of the Soviet Union, or even China's pivot to private enterprise. It is the fact that the most well-known advocate for the communist revolution today is a guy in a mansion preaching to workers, claiming that they all must unite, even though he hasn't worked a real day's worth of labor in his entire life. To be fair to Hasan, he does expose serious flaws with capitalism, corporations, Western liberal democracy, and the United States. Not through his arguments or actions, but through his mere existence. Hasan Piker is a man without talent, skill, charisma, grit, intelligence, or insight, who through a capitalist system managed to become extraordinarily wealthy, or I should say wealthier than he already was. How someone with such low human capital became filthy rich is a better argument against capitalism than any of Hasan's bullshit anti-capitalist arguments. Capitalism has allowed for unrestrained nepotism, clout chasing, and vapid attributes like good looks to take precedent over genuine contributions to society. If it wasn't for looks and nepotism, Hasan would be scrubbing up the dried up piss stains off of toilet seats. And somehow, he'd still be more useful. This man essentially makes millions living like a NEET. Only in capitalist liberal democratic Western America could someone as useless as Hasan Piker become so rich. And that, in and of itself, is a better argument against the system we live in than any of the bullshit talking points that Hasan Piker has ever uttered.
I'm a communist with a Gucci bag. Got my Prada kicks, yeah. Got to have my swag. I'm a socialist with diamond ring. Talking revolution, I ain't felt a thing. So here's a little secret. I'm living on the high. Talk about the struggle, but you know it's all a lie. I'm just here for the fashion. I'm just here for the trend. I'll be on my yacht while the workers try to mend.